Hello, my name is Elliot Lassen. I am a professor of psychology and the graduate program director of the Masters of IO Psychology program at UMBC. The program is housed at universities at Shady Grove in Rockville, Maryland. I'm going to talk to you about the field of IO psychology, as well as specifically our program at UMBC. This is meant as an information session. Of course, you may have questions about our program, and there will always be opportunities to contact us to ask those questions. I will start with a bit of a primer or overview of the field of IO psychology. Industrial organizational psychology, we refer to it as IO. And there are some misconceptions about what IO psychology is. So I hope to, at least in this description, clarify some of those misconceptions. IO psychology is defined as the scientific study of behavior in the workplace, which is very similar to the general definition of psychology. Of course, here we plug in the word workplace, and there are many things that happen in the workplace. There are people that are hired. There are people that are promoted. Managers will be assessing performance. The organization as a whole is like an organism, and there are some moving parts. There's an interface with the outside aspects of the marketplace. So we're going to focus in describing IO psychology on that basis. As you can see in this solar system type of diagram, going at the 12 o'clock position, IO psychology has been around for over 100 years. There are many theories that are associated with the field. Many research journals have been published over the years and continue to be until today. So we have a foundation within research and data collection that inform what we do in our field. A couple of the areas of IO psychology, as you follow it to the, 3 o'clock position going clockwise, that includes talent acquisition and management, which means how do we bring talent into the organization from the outside? And once talent is acquired, we manage and promote and move people around the organization for various goals and objectives. So that is a focus, one focus of IO psychology. When we talk about the organization, organizational behavior, that's at the 6 o'clock position. Organizational behavior and development. Those aspects of the field will include leadership, culture of the organization. How does the organization expand or contract based on need? We have people in the field that are professional consultants that come into organizations that assist with those processes. As we move around to the 9 o'clock position of this chart, we have interventions and consultative, which means that consultants will come in from the outside, but they also will come from the inside and will problem solve. If an organization has a certain need for an intervention, something needs to be developed, a training program, a strategic plan, succession planning, So that's also part of our field. It is a field that has certain aspects of research, but it also has many applied aspects as well. So the field is rich, and this is really just to whet your appetite. There are many specific areas and functions within the field of IO psychology. To be very practical for a moment, we can ask the question, where do IO psychologists work? What are their day jobs? In a broad sense, as you can see, IO psychology professionals can work for government, we call that the public sector, can work for the private sector, can be consultants, either individual consultants or work for consulting firms of different sizes. I myself have worked in the nonprofit space in workforce development. So there are colleagues that work for nonprofit organizations, as well as higher education, which is the university and college space, both at the undergraduate level, the graduate level, teaching, mentoring students, but also we have research companies that will do research for the government or for the corporate sector, for healthcare, where the competencies of IO psychology professionals will be valued. It is a growing field. There are positions out there in the field of IO psychology in each one of these sectors. One question that I get, especially when part of my persona is that of a human resources professional. I am certified by the Society for Human Resource Management as a senior certified professional. So what's the difference between IO psychology and human resources? So I've been known to say, based on my colleague, Dr. Abad, who once stated that IO and HR are really two sides of the same coin. Let me give you some examples of job titles that would fall into each of those categories, but I would say they're certainly not mutually exclusive. You can see on the left side, I would call those job titles within the realm of IO psychology. Personnel psychologist is a job title that you see somewhat regularly working for the federal government. Human capital consultant, management analyst. In fact, I took these job titles from LinkedIn profiles of those individuals who have an IO psychology background. We go to the right-hand side to human resources. Once again, taken directly from LinkedIn profiles of colleagues of mine. You can see Vice President of Talent Acquisition, which is recruiting and hiring. Chief Human Resources Officer. That is really at the top of the human resources totem pole, so to speak, where that individual, person that holds that position, is sitting at the same table, the same strategic table as the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, the COO, the Chief Operating Officer, the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, and we have the Chief Human Resources Officer. In some organizations, they now call it a Chief People Officer, as well as HR specialists, managers, director of HR. But I would say that somebody with a master's degree in IO psychology could work in any of the job titles that you see up here on the screen, and as evidenced by the fact that I did find these job titles on LinkedIn profiles of people that I know that have a similar background. To give you some high-level description of our program, I alluded to this before. We are an applied program as opposed to what you might find in a PhD program. But even though it's applied, it's based on scientific principles, because after all, our field has a rich history of research and empirical data collection. So we very much think of our program as applied in nature. Another aspect of our program is really the scheduling of our courses. The schedule of our courses is designed for people who work. Most of our students will work full or part-time. Our courses, our classes start around 6 o'clock in the evening, which allows our students to get from their place of employment, or if they're working from home, to our campus, which is located at universities at Shady Grove in Rockville. Most of our courses run once a week for about 3 hours. So this is a very employment-friendly scheduling. The academic side of our program, the coursework, we divide it roughly into two categories. One category are our core courses, and you'll see what they are in a minute or two, which are foundational. Sometimes they will be the prerequisite for other courses in our program. And they are a requirement. You'll see the breakdown in terms of how many core courses. But we also have specialty courses. Those are electives, if you will. And we have an array of electives that I believe to be unique based on what other programs offer. We have some courses that are not offered elsewhere. And the fact that we have a variety of specialty elective courses, it allows our students to select courses that are of specific interest to them. So we are a robust program in that we have some customized options, customized tracks for our students based on what they're interested in doing in their career. So, for example, if a student is interested in more of the consulting field, then the advisement might gear them towards certain courses like our consulting course or maybe strategic planning. We might have some students that are interested in HR administration, so we might channel those students to principles of HR management or total rewards. So through advisement and through the large selection of courses that we have, we can help our students achieve their career interests. In addition to the classroom, the formal courses that we offer, and those courses are important because they represent the knowledge basis for many aspects of the field of IO psychology. But there's also an experiential side of our program. And I've been known to say that we offer and we push out a lot of those opportunities that are there for the taking. So seize the opportunity is a mantra of mine. So let's talk a little bit about some unique features that would be experiential in nature. We have an advisory board made up of 12 outstanding individuals who are senior in their field, a lot of experience, and the advisory board will not only inform us about course changes that we might be considering, they may give us internship and job opportunities to both our students and alumni. But we also have a mentoring program where students will select an advisory board member who will represent perhaps a goal, a short-term or a long-term career goal, and Thereby, our students can say, I want to be like this advisory board member someday down the road in my career. And I want to be able to meet with that person to find out the steps of how to get there. Another experiential aspect of our program is in the final semester, our students will do a self-directed applied consulting project with a real organization. Now, I say it's self-directed because there's a certain independence that is expected, where the student will apply the knowledge bases and the experiences that he or she may have developed during the program and bring that to the table to conduct a project under the guidance of one of the capstone advisors. I serve as a capstone advisor. My colleague, Dr. Abad, also serves as a capstone advisor. So it's self-directed in a sense, but it's under our supervision and guidance. That's the final course that our students will take, and that's in lieu of a master's thesis. We also offer a practicum, which is designed to get mentorship in an organization over the course of a semester from a senior level HR or IO professional. Occasionally, there'll be some consulting projects that our faculty will be involved in, and there are chances to connect with faculty members where students can get some experience in doing consulting projects with the faculty members. Finally, on this slide, you'll see we have connections and relationships with different professional organizations, namely SIOP, PTC, Society for Human Resource Management. We will push out information about meetings, conferences, and as we'll see soon, there might be some subsidies available for our students to attend. There are other experiences that we will inform our students about. One that's not on this slide is that every year we will push out information to our students about an assessment center down in Alabama. All expenses paid, but it's been a great experience for our students who have seized the opportunity and participated in that real life assessment center for law enforcement officers in Alabama. A little bit about the structure, and it's relatively simple in terms of the math. 30 credits, each course is 3 credits, which means 10 courses. On the right side, you'll see that we require 5 core courses, 4 electives, and our capstone course, and that makes up the total of 10. Of course, every student has to make sure that he or she has the number of courses within each category in order to graduate, but that's the breakdown of the core, specialty, and capstone courses. A little bit on the different course categories. This slide reflects the core course offerings. So as you can see, every student has to take 5 core courses. The first 3 courses, as you can see, are required. And the first semester, in fact, is the first 2 courses that you'll see. IO Psychology, which is the overview course, followed by the stats on the second row. Those are taken the first semester, and those are foundational and prerequisites for most all courses. So the students will take them the first semester. Also, Psychology 710, which is research methods for IO Psychology, which is taken after the first semester. Then we have organizational behavior, methods of assessment. So roughly speaking, the organizational behavior is more or less on the O side of IO Psychology. The methods of assessment It's more on the I side. Certainly, if you have any questions on what I mean by that, please feel free to contact me. But we have this balance between the I and the O. And then based on interests, whether it's just academic interests or career interests, we have 2 other core courses, seminar and applied, social psychology, as well as professional HR practices. And then if you take a look at this slide, it's a busy slide, but I take pride in the fact that it's so busy because it means that we offer so many different elective courses. And as you can see on the right part of the chart, the semester that these courses are currently offered, there are sometimes some changes that we make, but this allows some planning, some academic planning of what courses offered when. But take a look at the course offerings. Talent and Leadership Development, Psychology 668. Group Decision Making, Psychology 678. Change Management, Advanced Statistics, Job Analysis, that's a favorite of mine because I teach it. Strategic Planning, the Practicum as mentioned. So we have so many different offerings that are available to our students. And I take a lot of pride in really developing this roster of courses available to our students. Then, of course, we have Capstone, which is offered in the fall and the spring semesters, not offered in the summer. The previous slide, you saw that there are some courses that are offered in the summer. So some students will elect to take courses in the summer. Some students like to take the summer off. But the Capstone experience, I mentioned that before, I described it, and that is in the final semester. That's the requirement. Some new things that we have put into place. Starting with fall of 2024, we're going to have a Baltimore-based first semester cohort, which will allow students that are geographically north of Rockville or even north of Baltimore to take their first semester on our main campus in Rockville, in Baltimore, in Catonsville. So that's a new feature that we are implementing in the fall of 2024. For those students who accept us after they've been accepted by our review committee, we will offer an informational interview with one of our advisory board members prior to even starting the program. I mentioned before the mentoring program that we've had in place since 2016. And that access to an advisory board member will be made available even before the student matriculates, starts in our program. We have a new required course. You saw it on one of the screens before, and that is research methods, because we feel that that's very important for our students, even if they're not going to be researchers, to have that foundation in understanding research, in reading research articles. And then we have a new course in people analytics, which is very hot right now. Analytics, big data is very popular. I don't mean that in a trivial sense. It just means that it has taken root within our practice, and we are offering that course. Coming attraction, we have been given a gift from a UMBC alum that will allow us to subsidize conference attendance and travel to one of our premier conferences every year. So we're looking forward to having that available to offer to our students. So we're very excited about that. In addition to our master's program, we also have, as you will see on this slide, certificate programs, which are made up of 4 courses. a lot of detail on this slide about what each certificate requires. But these are 12 credit certificate programs that can be done as a standalone or can be done within the context of the master's degree. So it is possible to get one of these certificates in the master's program itself as a specialty area. So you see here organizational consulting, training and talent development. So there are 4 courses. The numbers will correspond to the courses that you saw previously on the other slides. And organizational consulting might be a certificate that someone who wants to go in the consulting track might be interested in. We also have the training and talent development. That's another area of focus within our field. Once again, 4 courses, 12 credits. There's another certificate that is housed within the Learning and Performance Technology program, but there is some crossover with 2 courses in our program. So some of our students will get the master's degree, which might include 2 elective courses of our program, and then take the required courses under LAPT to get that certificate in instructional systems design. So as you can see, these certificates are either standalone or can be embedded within the master's degree. When you are selecting a program, a master's program in this case, it's always a good idea to try to do your research, as you no doubt are doing at this time. And one of the things that we are asked is, well, what do your graduates do? What can I do with this degree? So here we have some examples of where our graduates are working. And you'll see some examples. These are students that allowed us to post their names. We have Tyler, who is a human capital consultant. Shelby works for a nonprofit. Twisha was an international student, and now she works in India as a project manager. We have graduates that work in the public sector. Brian Reed is an example. Sarah Evans has her own consulting firm where she supports organizations. Nakia works in nonprofit for the KIPP Foundation as a senior manager of talent acquisition. So we're very proud of all of our graduates, and this is just a representative sample of what our graduates are doing. Some others, once again, we have some public sector. Delora works for NIH. Helen works for a company called Bilibili in Shanghai, China, as a talent and organizational development head. Once again, we're so proud of our international students that gain from our program and are able to really make a difference around the world. Anne Katrid works for the Oslo District Court as an HR senior advisor, and she was explaining to me that there's very little sophistication in terms of the knowledge of IO in other countries, in some other countries. So we're very proud that she's being impactful in bringing some of the knowledge bases and skills and competencies around the world. And Kendra is a graduate relatively early of our program back in 2009, but she decided she wanted to come back and get her PhD. She's getting her PhD in public policy, but she asked me to chair her dissertation committee because she's going to be doing an IO dissertation topic. So we do have, perhaps, if you're interested at some point in coming back and getting a doctorate, there are some tracks within the university, homegrown, without having to go elsewhere, of doing a dissertation in public policy and really being able to practice IO psychology after that. A little bit about our application process. We run our application season from November to May, and there's a QR code that you can scan and really be taken directly to the website. We will review applications during that time, and we require typical materials, the application, of course, transcripts, a goal statement, which will describe to us how an applicant would leverage the degree towards career goals. So that's a goal statement. We ask for recommendations, and there's a rating form that the recommenders will complete. We also ask for a resume or some sort of work history, because we want to see how that might contribute to the individual's background as they apply to our program. We very much try to get a quick decision to our applicants so that our applicants will know where they stand. So we have a review committee, actually 2 subcommittees that will review applications and, working with the graduate school, get decisions out in a timely fashion. We have a fall start to our program. So right before Labor Day each academic year is when our classes will start. Once again, we run 3 semesters, fall, spring, and a limited number of courses in the summer. And the application process is online now, and that makes it very user-friendly with technology, not a lot of paper. We've kind of reduced that. So this is our application process. We very much hope that based on this information, you will consider our program, you will look into it to a greater extent, and certainly if you have any questions, both from an academic program perspective, as well as administrative questions regarding the application process, we're here to answer those questions. And our website is really very informative. On the website, you'll see who our advisory board members are, who our faculty members are. And I should mention, just before we close, really just give a shout out to our very dedicated faculty. Most of our faculty are working in industry. And the way I put it is that if one of our faculty members works until 5, they come to campus at 6 o'clock. So each of our faculty members is able to impart experiences from the workday or extend it out to the entire career of that individual and bring them into the classroom and really make IO psychology come to life. So at this point, I will close, and we hope to see your application to review, and I wish everybody well. Thank you.